Hello, today we're going to talk about the passive voice part 1. The aims of this presentation are to teach students how and when to use the passive voice, as well as the rules for the formation or transformation of an active sentence into a passive one. First of all, let's have a look at the differences between active and passive voice. Normally, active and passive sentences usually have the same meaning. However, the focus is sometimes different. Let's have a look at the example on the screen. Millions of people cultivate lands all over the world. In this sentence, the focus is on millions of people. On the opposite, in the second sentence, which is a passive construction, we have lands are cultivated all over the world by millions of people. Here, the focus is on the land, not on the people. Okay, now we're going to have a look at the transformation of an active sentence into a passive voice. Here is an example of an active sentence. Many farmers grow oranges in Valencia. Okay, here you have the subject, many farmers, the verb, grow, direct object, oranges, and the adverb in Valencia. And here goes the sentence in the passive form. Oranges are grown in Valencia by many farmers. So the subject now is oranges, the verb, are grown, the agent, by many farmers, and the adverb in Valencia. Let's have a look at the passive formation steps in more detail. Remember that to construct a passive sentence, first, the object of the active sentence becomes the subject of the passive sentence. So we always need an object in the active sentence. The next step is to put the verb to be in the same tense as the verb in the active sentence. And remember, very important, remember to make it agree with the new subject. So pay attention to whether the subject is singular or plural. Okay, in the sentence I just show you, the verb is in the form are, because the verb in the active sentence was in the present simple. The next step is to add the past participle of the verb in the active sentence. In the example before is grow. And finally, the subject of the active sentence becomes the agent of the passive sentence, by many farmers. The agent is the person who does or performs the action. Okay, when do we use the passive voice, or why do we use the passive voice? We normally use the passive in 3 different cases. First, when the agent is unknown or is not important. Let's have a look at the example on the screen. This field was last cultivated in 1988. So, in this case, the important thing is that the field was cultivated. We don't know who cultivated the field, or maybe it's not important. The second case is when the identity of the agent is clear from the context. For example, oranges are grown in Valencia. In this situation, we can assume that Valencian farmers grow them. And finally, we also use the passive voice without agent when we want to avoid mentioning the agent for whatever the reason. Let's have a look at the next example. Air pollutants and greenhouse gases are normally released into the atmosphere. In this situation, I may know which companies release these gases, but for whatever reason, I don't want to mention them. On the opposite, we use the passive with by if you mention the agent. When do you mention the agent? Well, normally when you introduce new information about him or her. Let's have a look at the example. One means of reducing the impact of waste disposal on the atmosphere is offered by some companies in Barcelona. Okay, however, it's very important to remember that in most cases in English, you do not need to include an agent in the passive sentences. So sometimes it's more natural to use a passive sentence without an agent. Okay, just to sum up, notice that the passive brings into prominence the thing to which the action is being done. And it does so by placing it at the beginning of the sentence. So, if we have a look at the example here on the screen, the soil was cultivated in early September, the important or the relevant thing is the action and not the agent who performs this action. Okay, here in the 2 following slides we have some exercises. This is a tense transformation table. Remember that when you transform an active structure into a passive structure, you need to make a change in the verb. You normally have to put the verb to be in the same tense of the verb in the active sentence, and then you have to add the past participle. So, in this exercise, you have to complete the table below with the missing forms of the verb to be. Let's have a look at the tenses. Okay, we have present simple, the pest, blank, control every year. Present continuous, the soil, blank, prepare for cultivation. Past simple, the rice, blank, harvested last week. Past continuous, all the seeds, blank, sown at once. And be going to, oranges, blank, harvested this weekend. Have a go. Here come the solutions. Are is been, was, were been, and are going to be. Now let's continue with more difficult verb tenses. Okay, let's have a look at the present perfect. The plants water this week. Past perfect, waste, dispose of when I arrive. Modal verbs such as can or must, the fruits, picked whenever you want. And the future simple, the greenhouse gases, released in a controlled way by 2050. Okay, and here you have the results. Have been, had been, can and must be, and will be. And that is all for today. Thank you very much.